So what are they going to run on? You know, Biden has now taken a huge lead in the polls, although it's a little deceptive, which is interesting about Bernie, because Bernie was always, you know, people say, well, Bernie would have won if the DNC hadn't cheated him out of the nomination and given it to Hillary. But the fact that the DNC was protecting Hillary made Bernie the only guy in town, the only other game in town. So anybody who hated Hillary was going to go to Bernie, because nobody else wanted to get into that fight, because the DNC wasn't going to support them. So because it was her turn, right? So now the weakness of Bernie comes out, because the minute Biden announces, he's like 30% up in the polls. Now, those are the national polls. In the local polls, like the Iowa primary polls, it's a lot closer. It's like more like 19% and 20%. So, and that's where the fight takes place. So those polls are deceptive. But Biden, you know, I mean, Biden is really out of it. I don't mean to pick on him for being old. I mean, like, but he is, what is he, 110? I think he's 77, something like that. He's really old. But he is out of it. I mean, they pick on him because the other day he said that Margaret Thatcher called him to complain about Trump. You know, and she's been dead a bit. But you know, okay, so you make a mistake. You're on the, you know, it's fun to make fun of the guy, but he made a mistake. But this is what I mean. He was talking about China. Listen to Biden talk about China.
China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man. They can't even figure out how to deal with the fact that they have this great division between the China Sea and the mountains in the east, in the west. They can't figure out how they're going to deal with the corruption that exists within the system. I mean, they're not bad folks, but guess what? They're not competition for us.
Yeah, they haven't even invented the fork. I mean, they keep eating with those little sticks. How's China? I mean, has he seen China lately? I mean, they have these amazing cities. They obviously have a burgeoning economy. They're moving their naval forces into the China Sea. Here's Mike Pompeo responding to those remarks quite sensibly, in my opinion.
Seems a little disconnected from the reality that is China today. Maybe when he ran for president the first time this was the situation, but it's certainly not today. China poses an enormous challenge to the United States of America. I agree with him. Ultimately, America will prevail. I'm confident that we should bet on our nation, but it's going to take a serious, concerted effort. A president like President Trump, who's prepared to push back against China, whether that be on trade or their military buildup or the theft of our intellectual property. We need a president who will be serious in protecting America against the challenges that China presents.
I mean, Trump is doing some stuff that is really surprising. He's threatening China with tariffs that will take place, I think, on Friday. The stock market took a nosedive when they saw that. But that's good. You want the stock market to be awake to dangerous things and to things going on. I mean, that means people are paying attention and they're not just kind of getting stoned on profits. But he is actually taking this on. And the idea that China is still, they can't figure out how to deal with the mountains in the West or wherever the hell they are. I mean, that's nuts. That is just nuts. And it's just, it's the same thing as Barack Obama telling Mitt Romney that Russia is not a threat in the 1980s, called and want their foreign policy back. I mean, these guys are totally out of it, which also is going to be true about the economy, because Biden's got to run on the Biden-Obama economy. He said the first thing he's going to do, he said, is repeal those Trump tax cuts, because we want to get back to that Obama economy. I don't think that's going anywhere. I do not think that's, talk about eating his lunch. I think Trump will bounce him down the street like a basketball if this is the best that he can do. He's got the things that are vaunted about him. One is black women apparently like him. They keep saying he knows how to talk to black people, but I am not impressed. I mean, he had this one thing he said, this is cut number 10. You remember he said they're going to put you all back in chains. He's still selling this. Listen to this on so-called voter suppression.
Folks, speaking of dignity, it means we have to protect, which is not happening now, the single most important right you have as an American, the right to vote. The right to vote. And folks, last year, 24 states introduced or enacted at least 70 bills to curtail the right to vote. And guess what? Mostly directed at, quote, people of color. You see it. We got Jim Crow sneaking back in. No, I mean it. It's all corrupt. Why? Why? because they know. You saw it in North Carolina. You saw what happened in Georgia. You saw what happened in Florida. Why? Because they know if everybody has an equal right to vote, guess what? They lose. They lose.
So Biden is running against Jim Crow. Kirsten Powers is talking about blacks being kidnapped out of Africa. All things the Democrats did, by the way. The Republicans never had anything to do with any of this stuff, never had anything to do with Jim Crow, never had anything to do with slavery, except one thing. Republicans had one thing to do with slavery. They sent Republican Abe Lincoln to end slavery. That's what they had to do with that. Helped end Jim Crow. I mean, this is, I don't know, at some point, you know, I have full faith and trust in Americans of color, however you want to call that. It always strikes me as a stupid phrase, we're all some color. But I have utter faith that Americans who are black are one day going to look up and say, wait just a minute, that's not my problem. You know, that's not the problem in my neighborhood. My problem is crime. My problem is illegitimacy. My problem is things that actually the Democrats created. And maybe I got to start listening to evil Donald Trump, who didn't say the things the press said he said, who doesn't have the attitudes the Democrats say he has. I mean, one of these days, that stuff is really old fashioned. One of these days, people are going to catch up with him. Then you've got the other guy, Pete Buttigieg, who to me is like, you know, it's like gay people can be bigots too. Is that his policy? They asked him about his religious faith on TV. I just want to make sure we get the right cut here. It's cut 4. Listen to this response.
You've also spent a fair amount of time talking about your faith.
Yes.
Why?
Well, it's important to me. And I think it's also important that we stop seeing religion used as a kind of cudgel, as if God belonged to a political party. And if he did, I can't imagine it would be the one that sent the current president into the White House.
So we got to stop using religion as a cudgel, and let me cudgel Republicans with religion. I mean, here's a guy he has actually said that my ideas about marriage are more, he's a gay guy married to a man, and he says my ideas about marriage are more traditional than Trump's, because Trump has obviously been adulterous in his marriage, which, by the way, is a tradition. But I mean, so gay people are now Christians, which I am very much in favor of, okay? Whether or not homosexuality is a sin before God, it's not a crime, it's not for me to judge, and I do not understand why the same people who say, you know, oh, we must correct sin in homosexuals don't say, oh, I'm going to go up and tell that fat guy to stop eating, because gluttony is also a sin, by the way. I don't understand why it is the one thing that keeps you out of church. I do not believe anybody should be not denied the table of Christ in Christ's lifetime. He didn't deny people. He sat and ate with all kinds of people while the religious authorities quailed. I think gay people should be allowed at the table. But did they have to become the worst kind of Christians, the kind of Christians nobody can stand, who are always lecturing other people about how they're not in God's good favor? I mean, that's the kind of thing that Christianity has been moving away from all these years, all these hundreds of years. But Pete Buttigieg is going to take us right back.